saw you working with Tunyon and Jones off to the side today, which I hear. Is there anything specifically you're working on with them besides beyond being pass catching tight end, pass catching guard?
No, just trying to get Bobby comfortable. You know, he's so close to getting back to team drills. There's just, you know, the mental part of it probably. So any chance I get to do some side work with him is great. And then every now and then we'll grab, you know, a backer receiver and specifically work on something that we're thinking about doing in that practice, and that's what we did with Jones.
It's not often I see you chuck the ball a couple times. I don't know if it was disgust or frustration. Was it frustration today?
No, it was just, you know, I'm about to get sacked, so I'm not trying to throw a pick on that play. So it was a throwaway at the feet of a couple guys, but we didn't protect very well at times today.
That series, was defense doing something differently than the series later, where you're out there with Randall and Sammy, and it seemed like you got the ball off quickly? Were they pressuring you every down in that first series?
Well, we locked down the stinky guys, Preston and Kenny, and then, you know, when we do that and we can double team Rashawn, we got a chance to get some plays down the field.
Have you given any more thought to Thursday play?
Nope. Just whatever Matt wants us to do, we'll do.
Hey Aaron, question back here. Can you explain to us that bottle behind the statue?
The bottle?
Can you move the statue?
Is there a bottle back there?
Tell us what that bottle says.
Y'all did something, huh?
It's planted?
Anti-injury.
You got that rash under control? You good? You're welcome. He's a little salty that I got after him about his lack of showering.
Hey, Aaron, those of us that have been around you for a long time know that the standard is the standard with you, and you're demanding for a reason. I'm wondering, though, when Tay was a rookie, you had a bunch of established guys. When Randall was a rookie, you had a bunch of established guys. I'm not saying that you need to move the goalposts, but do you need to try and find some way to maybe make it work with a guy who's not going to be up to where you want him to be, like Romeo, right away? Well, I'm just wondering what your process is for that, because it's different than it has been in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be real about the expectations with all those guys, and then hold them at the same time, hold them to a standard of what they're capable of at this time, based on those expectations that are realistic. So the whole key is the consistency with what's being taught. You know, the consistency with seeing improvement each day, and maybe just a reminder that every single one of those plays we're watching, whether it's ones, twos, or threes, split group, one group. And I just think there's a way of practicing that they just need to understand. You know, playing the specific drills, having an awareness that we're in a third down period, we're in a red zone period, we're in a 2-minute period, we're in a move the ball period. Each one of those periods has a different urgency to it, and different little games within the game. And I just think there needs to be an understanding of that, and that's what some of the conversations in the film sessions have been about. But we just want to see improvement from those guys week to week. I feel good about the veterans that we have in the room. You know, I thought Randall had one of his better practices at camp today. Sammy had 2 great practices last week against the Saints. Allen's been very consistent for us. It's just that next group of guys, you know, who's going to step up and get playing time out of that next group of 3.
How far behind is Christian and stuff right now?
I mean, I thought he was pretty good yesterday. I thought he was pretty good today. So he asks a lot of questions. He cares about it. He comes over and, you know, tries to get on the same page. And if anything happened, whether it's good or bad, and different. So I enjoy his approach. But he's got a different skill set. He's a big body who can run, and we just got to get him a little more consistent, I think, tracking the ball down the field. But he made a nice play in the 2-minute right there. So the thing that I've seen with him is just mentally the improvement from day to day. Yesterday we did a kind of spur of the moment adjustment in a period, and I told him what to do in the huddle, and it's something he's never done before, and he went out and did it perfect. And it's those little things like that that start to gain that trust and that confidence, and gets you excited about things. Now, Dobbs done a lot of really nice things, but I think the standard for him is not going to be maybe the standard for a normal rookie that we've had here in the past, especially in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Because he's going to be expected to play based on his performance so far in camp. So we got to hold him to a standard that I know he's capable of reaching. But he cares about it. He's a great kid. He's made some instinctual plays that are, you just can't really coach. He ran a little in and back out in the game, and at the top of the route, there's a guy right there, and instead of kind of drifting on it and letting the guy make the play, he comes hard back to the ball, strong hands, and that's, you like seeing those plays. It gives you confidence. Now, I'm not throwing him that ball, but it gives you confidence that he's capable of doing some things that might not be on the paper offense.
Was that the one to the left sideline?
Our sideline, yeah.
You joked about Randall saying you're softer now or gentler or whatever, but I'm never going to forget when Lucas Patrick talked about deposits and withdrawals and about all the deposits you make privately with guys before you make the maybe occasional public withdrawal. Have you made more deposits? Are they larger deposits? Like, what kind of approach are you taking, especially with a guy like Dobbs, who looks like he needs it?
Yeah, it's a concerted effort, I think, to find those times to talk to those guys. I like at lunch, and I'm giving away a little bit of secrets here, but I like to kind of pick a table with a guy that I might not have connected with yet and have lunch with him. Or sometimes sit by myself and see who comes and sits down, because that's always fun as well. But early in camp, I made a point to sit next to Romeo a few times, just get to know his story, where he comes from, because that tells you a lot about the kid and the journey it took to get here. And then checking in with him and being intentional with Randall and Allen on how he's doing and mentally, and if we need to have some deeper conversations or lighter conversations, whatever it might be. And with Christian, it's just staying on him. He was out for so long. That's tough mentally to do, regardless of whether he's behind or not. From a preparation standpoint, it's just hard to not be able to practice out there. So it's being intentional with those guys about conversations, the friendship level, and getting those guys to feel comfortable here. Because as much as we're going to hold them accountable, this still is a tight-knit group, and we want everybody to feel great about their role here, to feel great about their spot on the team, and those two as much as anybody.
Who's had the guts to come sit down when you were by yourself?
Wyatt has a few times, and I've enjoyed our conversations. I was teasing him a few weeks ago. I said, I watched on the Packers.com that, they asked the rookies who's the funniest rookie, and the majority of the guys said you. So I haven't seen it yet. So the next day he came and sat next to me at lunch. So we had a nice conversation, and I really enjoy him. And what it does is that bond makes you start pulling for guys. And whether it's conscious or not, that subconscious energy that you're, directing towards that individual person, it changes the perspective, of how you look at them. And in turn, that could have a positive impact on them. And so I really enjoy those opportunities. I've had a number of conversations with younger guys, guys who are going to make the team, guys who are in the bubble, and guys who are long shots. I enjoy getting to know these guys. But Wyatt is definitely he's been a repeat lunch buddy, which has been fun.
Aaron, what's it been like getting to know Danny a little bit at Lingen? Obviously, he's kind of a unique story, too, that sort of brought him there.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Scotty Tolzien, and I think that's a big compliment because I love Scotty. Scotty was a gym rat. He cared about it. He was always doing something. I heard stories about him. He'd have the P Squad center in the gym, on a Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and they're going through cadences and certain things. And Danny's the same way. He's a gym rat, and that's what you got to be when you're a backup quarterback and fighting for a spot on the active roster. He's obviously talented athletically. I mean, you've seen that. We saw that when we're watching this film. Bill had him in New England doing some special team stuff. He ran down on punts and kickoffs and different things, and then he had an 87-yard read option the other night. Obviously a big play on the read option. So he's very talented, but you'd love to see the work ethic. He just really puts the time in, and I've really enjoyed having him in the room. He's thoughtful. He asks a lot of questions, good questions, and he's always asking the why. And the why is so important to figuring things out in this league, because once you know the why, then you start to be able to put together the real football. And he's fun. He's a really good addition to the room.
Aaron, how intently are you going to be watching David and Elton as they proceed from where they are now to where you hope they will be soon?
Yeah, I'm going to be watching them like a hawk. It's good having them in the huddle. In the basically the pre-practice kind of jog through that we do. I stepped in the huddle the other day, and it was the big giraffe at left and Elton over at right, and Big Dog was in there, and Sammy and Cobby and Allen and Jonesy, and I was like, this feels like a pretty good offense right here. So it'd be nice to have those guys back. In the meantime, I'm really proud of a few of those guys up front, especially a guy like Jake, who came in here, had a pretty rough first training camp, and the steps that he's made to put himself in a conversation to be a starter in the National Football League is outstanding. And Jake Hansen has consistently gotten better. He's improved his body, he's improved his craft, his footwork, and he's one of those guys you're really, really proud of. A guy like John Runyon has been so solid for us. You stop kind of worried about him. Josh, when he's out there, obviously he was hurt a little bit last year, but he's been so consistent. But Jake, as much as anybody in that room, has really done a lot for himself and made a big jump.
How much more do you expect to have 28 and 33 on the field at the same time than you did last year? And what do you like about what their skill sets allow you to do when they're out there together?
Yeah, I mean, they can both obviously run the ball really well. They can both catch out of the backfield well. Different types of backs. I was talking to Matt this morning about it. They're both, I feel, dangerous in the open field. Jonesy's such a slasher. When he gets the ball, he's tough to take down. He's got a great balance, low center of gravity. And 28, learned how to run behind his pads. And he can punish you, especially in the wintertime, but he can also make you miss. And he's tough to bring down. He's got tremendous quad size and strength. Both those guys in space, I think, can be really productive for us. So it's finding ways to get those guys into that space. But I'm sure, we're going to play our best 11. And it's hard to think those guys aren't in the best 11 for us. So we got to find ways to get the ball to them in space. It'd be good to get Bobby back, obviously at some point. But things are coming together on offense, and I think we've had a few more consistent practices. We're still up against a great pass rush and a great front, but I like the steps that we've taken in the last couple weeks.
Aaron, back to Christian. Because he missed so much time, do you test him? And these days, and if so, what does that mean? Is it just simply throwing him the ball, or is there a lot more to it than that?
Well, it's like yesterday. I gave him an adjustment he's never done before. And it was quick. It was 5 seconds. Hey, do this, boom, 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 and then do that. And he came out, and he did exactly what I said. So it's little things like that. I'm going to test him on, then we had another one where I gave him a signal that maybe he's gone over one time. Maybe it was a month ago. Maybe it was in the OTAs. And he didn't have it. Didn't come up with the adjustment. So, like I told Romeo earlier in camp, what I really want to see is the mistakes, full speed. Because I know if you make a mistake now in training camp, it's highly unlikely that you're going to make a repeat mistake when the same situation comes up in a regular season game. So I'm going to test them every single day and give them adjustments and things that they might not have talked about, maybe they've talked about, see what the recall is and see how well they can adjust on the fly. And when they make a mistake, coach them up on what I want. It's not that I'm so worried about. It's the simple stuff, the stuff that we learned day one, the stuff that they went over in OTAs, the stuff they went over in IPWs. It's those little things that we can't make mistakes on. It's the offense outside of the paper offense that there's going to be mistakes now. There's going to be adjustments. There's going to be checks that they maybe haven't seen before or haven't gone over more than once. Those mistakes I'd like to see happen now. It's the simple stuff, the alignments, the route stems, the adjustments that are a part of the day one base offense that we can't have. But I feel like there has been some improvement in the last week from all those guys, including Samari.
It used to take Brett a couple weeks in camp
You're next.
To get it going. It used to take Brett a couple of weeks in camp to get it going. You come to mini camp, looks like you've been here 2 weeks. But do you think some of these younger guys would be further along if you'd done some of the OTAs with them?
Not really. Training camp is a long experience. There's plenty of time for conversations, for practice, for a lot of the things that we expect them to do in the regular season. I rely on the coaching staff to pass on the message as we're learning the offense. And then, I'm kind of the 202 professor. They got to get the kind of the base concepts, and when I come in, we have the offense outside of the paper offense. So I feel like there's been a few guys who've made a jump mentally as we've gotten into the second and third week of camp. Sammy being one of them. I feel like he's been playing faster and making more precise decisions. But again, you got to have realistic expectations for all our guys, not just the young players. And similar schedule last year. We came in and hit the ground running. Obviously some different players this year, but I feel like the offense, especially in the last week or so, has been clicking closer to where I think we should be trending.
Thank you. You remember years ago,
yes.
A play was, if it was a sack or something, you would keep the play going and work on, the scramble drill quite often. Do you think the guys who are new, Sammy, rookies, those guys really understand what that drill is like, or what that situation will be when you're in live game now? Have you worked on it enough?
We've been trying to. We've been coaching it up. It hasn't looked great. Now, I think 13 and 18, 33 and 28 have done a really nice job on scramble drills, but the other guys, and there was a couple plays today where you're just not seeing the right adjustments. It's a feel thing. It takes a while. We get it. But there's simple fundamentals within that. This is a simple game. It can be made difficult by people trying to reinvent the game or make their opinion seem, smarter or, way more educated. But at its roots, there's very simple scramble rules. And we've tried to pass those on to the young guys. The hardest part, though, Spoon, I think, is that clicking on, that mindset. Okay, now the play has gone from an on-schedule play to an off-schedule play. Now I got to get into my rules. Where am I out on the field? Who's around me? And then I got to get into those fundamentals. So there were times in the past where we'd actually do, 4 or 5 play just on air in our group periods, and it'd be just a scramble drill. And we've done a little bit of that, but thanks for reminding me, because probably not enough. We should probably get a couple more periods like that, because there's been too many mistakes on those. I thought Sammy the other day had a really, really nice one yesterday on the sidelines. I kind of missed the throw a little bit too far outside, but he had an out and up that turned into a scramble drill, and he just came right down a stem on the sidelines. It was a really good adjustment. But it's not something that you can it's a feel thing, and it does take a little bit, but the long and the short of it is there's a very simple rule to the scramble drill, and we need to see more consistency from especially some of the younger guys in those situations.
I don't know if this is something that you can quantify this time of year, but you've been around for a while and you've practiced against good defenses in camp before. Is this the best defense that you've practiced against through camp?
It's tough to say. I mean, I feel like when I look back at the seasons, 2009 was as good of a defense as we had, I think. And then 2010 obviously was a good defense. 2014 was kind of right there on par, I feel like, with the just about with the 2009 team. The most unique defenses have been able to get after you up front and then really cover on the back end. And I feel like with, those 3 corners and really 4 or 5 corners, I think emerging as legitimate, high-level NFL players, and then getting obviously 26 back is gonna help the back end. But when the back end's covering like they're covering, and our 2 big inside linebackers can really get sideline to sideline and get into windows, this defense has obviously a really good opportunity to be a top defense in the league. But you know, I don't want to crown anybody before we get to the season, but the expectations are definitely high.
Do you enjoy hearing the chirping from guys like Rasul and Eric Stokes? They were very loud today.
Were they? I mean,
Most days,
Sewell's
but today.
kind of always talking, and I love that about him. Again, it reminds me of Charles. Now, Charles is a once-in-a-generation player, but you know, I do feel like Rasul has a lot of the same characteristics with his ball hawking ability and his coverage skills, his understanding of concepts, and then his trash talking. You know, Wood was, especially when we had Wood and Al Harris here, I mean, the level of trash talk was incredible with those two guys, and they just didn't let anybody catch the ball on them hardly ever. Yeah, I feel like we've had some completions on both those guys at times. And today actually snuck a couple in there against Rasul, so I'm not exactly sure what he was chirping about a whole lot, but I love 29. He is a hell of a player, and getting him back was a huge boost for our defense.